Good morning. The English interpretation will commence just as soon as the event commences. There appears to be a delay. Your English interpreters are standing
Good morning.
by, rest assured.
Bonjour. Buenos días. Buenos días. Bon día. Buongiorno. Empezamos esta Asamblea General del año 2021.
Are going to begin the
Antes de
2021
empezar,
General Assembly.
Importantísimo, ¿no?, poder asegurarnos que nos estamos escuchando y comprendiendo todo lo que vamos a compartir en la Asamblea. Y por este motivo quiero recordar que existe el servicio de traducción simultánea hacia el inglés, hacia el francés y el español, y habrá también portugués como lengua pasiva en el tiempo que dedicaremos a la ceremonia del premio. En vuestras pantallas podéis encontrar en la parte inferior un símbolo del globo terráqueo del planeta donde podéis seleccionar el idioma. Así que espero que estéis todos sintonizados, todas, todos. Y sin más, pues empezamos con un abrazo virtual cariñoso desde Barcelona. Con los mejores deseos personales, ¿no?, para todos y cada una de las personas que estáis participando en esta asamblea, para vuestros seres queridos, ¿no?, para las comunidades, ¿no?, en las que desde las ciudades estamos trabajando para que sean más fuertes y más resilientes, ¿no?, en este momento duro que nos toca vivir, ¿no?, en todos los países y en todas las ciudades, ¿no?, en esta pandemia, y recordar, ¿no?, pues que de alguna manera, ¿no?, todo el trabajo de red, ¿no?, toda esta asociación de ciudades es un puntal también, ¿no?, es un espacio muy oportuno para ser útil, para seguir compartiendo, ¿no?, los conocimientos, las prácticas, las experiencias, ¿no?, y las estrategias que todos nosotros estamos poniendo en juego, pues para asegurar que estas crisis encadenadas, ¿no?, primero sanitaria, pero también social, económica, de cuidados, emocional también, pues que no tenga impactos duros y negativos también en la educación, ¿no? En ese sentido, ¿no?, creo que nuestra Asociación Internacional de Ciudades Educadoras pues es una especie de cojín, ¿no?, es una especie de almohada que también nos puede acompañar, ¿no?, en este momento difícil, pues para asegurar que seguimos desde las ciudades repartiendo de la mejor manera las oportunidades educativas. Agradecer, como no puede ser de otra manera, ¿no?, la presencia de todos y cada una de las personas que estamos hoy aquí compartiendo, y también de las personas que quizá no vemos, pero que son los equipos que están detrás y que hacen posible este trabajo, ¿no?, de hormiguita, de muchos detalles para hacer posible pues en este formato de asamblea que abrimos hoy. Así que iniciamos la reunión en segunda convocatoria con un total de 164 ciudades inscritas con derecho a voto. Como sabéis, hace 3 días se cerró el tiempo de registro para participar, ¿no?, activamente con voto en la asamblea. También contamos con 12 ciudades observadoras y, como sabéis, la parte de la ceremonia del premio se estará también retransmitiendo en directo por el canal YouTube de la Asociación Internacional de Ciudades Educadoras en los diferentes idiomas. Agradecer especialmente también, ¿no?, obviamente, como decía, a todas las delegaciones participantes y muy especialmente, ¿no?, en esas ciudades donde, ¿no?, compartimos hoy la presencia también de alcaldes y alcaldesas. Son las ciudades de Alovera, de Barberà del Vallès, de Dimeshport Municipality, de Gavà, de General Alvear, de Granollers, de la Vall d'en Bas, de Medellín, de Riudellots de la Selva, de Ribes Vacía Madrid, de San Justo, de Sant Boi de Llobregat y de Torres Vedras, que hoy nos acompañan y que queremos también pues saludar efusivamente. Otra cuestión técnica, ¿no? Para las personas acreditadas con derecho a voto. Recordar que todas han recibido el link para acceder a la plataforma de voto y que esta plataforma tendremos 12 horas después de la finalización de la asamblea para que las personas representantes de cada una de las ciudades en sus respectivos horarios pues puedan hacer el ejercicio del voto. Y si hay alguna dificultad técnica, en ese mismo correo pues hay el teléfono de apoyo que consta para que todo el mundo pueda.
So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you briefly about the agenda. It's going to be a very intense assembly today. The first item is the much awaited ceremony for the award of the Educating Cities Award 2020. We will be presenting the minutes of the previous event for approval. We will be dealing also with new members and leavers. The following item on the agenda will be a review of what we've done in 2020. That's our record of activities. We'll look at our action plan for upcoming months, Action Plan 2021. We will go through the financial report, 2020, and we will look at the main lineaments of the budget for 2020. It may seem a bit far away, but things go slowly in that ambit, and so we have to approve that more than 6 months in advance. And then lastly, there'll be a space for anybody who wishes to raise any other business, any questions, or if anyone wants to make a contribution to our collective thinking process. And then we'll be looking at the announcement regarding the Congress in 2022. Now, doing all this virtually using this platform is a special skill. We'll be looking at the documents regarding the award that you've all received in advance, and there will be a period for people to ask questions and raise any queries they may have at the end of this presentation. You should be able to send in questions through the Q&A platform. There you need to identify yourself with the name of your city and your own name. So that's set the scene for our General Assembly. And we can now broach the lead item on our agenda, which is the award delivery ceremony for the Educating Cities Award for good practices of inclusion and democratization of culture. We had 58 candidacies from 50 cities in 4 continents, and there was an advanced pre-selection process, which came up with a short list of 3 educational experiences, but it has to be said that all 7 candidacies on the short list got very, very high marks, and we should definitely recognize the merit made by all of the cities that have applied to be considered for the award. A very high level of competitors this year. So before I tell you about the experiences of the winning cities, the association's secretariat has very rightly suggested that we take a moment to look at how broad the world of education is, how it connects with culture and other spheres. And we've got a very useful very valuable person with us here today who can share their thoughts. Michel Vallier is co-chairman of the Standing Committee of the Cultural Committee in Montreal. Bonjour.
Michel is an expert in culture and the social component thereof. He has more than 20 years of experience in serving through the municipalities with a social component. One very interesting initiative behind him is called I Am, which helped the city of Bourg-Dorion be recognized as one of the leading cities in 2021 culture, and also won the award of the UCLG City of Mexico Culture in 2016. All of these projects have also been awarded with over 20 national and international prizes. Mr. Vallier has delivered over 100 conferences and trainings in Canada and elsewhere in the world. So we very much look forward to hearing what Michel has to share with us today. We're talking about cultural citizenship, citizen participation, cultural mediation, and giving it this very broad, open view of education in cities through culture. So without any further ado, I'd now like to give the floor to Michel Vallier. You have the floor, and we're eager to hear what you have to say, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for those kind words of introduction, and good morning to everyone. I'd like to start by thanking the International Association of Educating Cities for having invited me here today to come and speak to you as part of this excellent event. It really is a privilege for me to speak to you today and give you this presentation. So thank you for this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you from all across the world. So yes, my name is Michel Vallier. I am a culture expert and look at issues related to social impact. But before I actually give my talk, let me really tell you who I am. My name's Michel. My mother's name is Rita. She is the 8th of 18 children. My father was the youngest of a family of 5 children. I have a younger sister, Jeanne, and I've been sharing my life for the past 33 years with a Rwandan woman, one of an Indigenous woman from one of the many Indigenous communities in Canada. And I've been living all my life in the province of Quebec, in the city of Montreal. Right now, I'm speaking to you from a land that is part of the traditional territory, the Kanandiaka of Canada. It has been a place of exchange between nations for a long time. Now, for me, when it comes to education and culture, it's about recognition, about getting to know one another, about sharing, about becoming fully committed to the transmission of knowledge and values. For me, encounters are at the basis of it all. That is my real introduction for you, if you like. And it's very proudly that I share with you my personal history, and I tell you who I am. Now, if there were fewer of us, I would love to hear personal introductions from each and every one of you as well. Maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to meet with you face to face, and then we will have the opportunity to do so. I would like you to talk to me about your personal stories, your collective stories, about your parents, your families, about what you're proud of, about what you love. That is exactly what we do in our cities on all our continents. Now, for the international awards, we received a number of exceptional nominations. 58 cities in total presented nominations. And let me just speak on behalf of the jury when I tell you that you did not make our job very easy for us at all. Now, over the next few minutes, I will be sharing with you some ideas about the link between culture and education. And really, this renewed look at this matter now that I have had a chance to examine the 58 candidates. I will be focusing on the 7 finalists and the 3 winners of the Award for Best Practices in the Inclusion and Democratization of Culture for 2020, but it's really a lot to do. And I've been thinking about it for some time now, because It truly is so important to have this link between culture and education. And it is precisely the monograph that was published by the association last year that we see this. There, the Education and Culture and Science Secretary of Barcelona, Joan Subirà, explained to us that access to active participation in culture is part of each and every one of us learning process. And he also said that when we talk about culture, we're not just talking about access to culture as a passive spectator. Rather, we're also talking about the fact that each and every one of us should have the opportunity to develop our cultural potential and contribute to a city's cultural life. So culture shouldn't be seen as just a series of fun activities. It is that, but it's much more than that. Now, in my town, my village, my neighborhood, my street, culture is participating in a folklore festival, singing my grandmother's favorite tune, reading stories to the children in the local library, participating in reflecting on how our parks can be improved, running a workshop, contributing to creating a carnival parade that is like me and my people. And I can do this together with other citizens. This is what it's all about. It's about being a stakeholder in your city's life. That's what we're talking about when we talk about coexistence. Culture is our culture. And for each and every one of us, it is my culture. So we need to expand our definition of culture so that we see ourselves as stakeholders of it, and that we relate to our cities, to our communities, and to everything that's around us. Culture isn't just done by us for spectators. It is done by and for citizens who get involved, who meet and listen to each other and work for their community. Now, each and every one of us has the right to become involved in and contribute to the life of our community. As I see it, our future lies in knowing each other. And if we're not contributing knowledge, then we're acquiring knowledge. And as we acquire knowledge, we're contributing to the future. I think it's quite clear that our future lies in education. And the culture is the one thing we have left when everything else is gone. Now, it may seem strange, but when we see all of these examples of quality projects that were presented for these awards, you cannot imagine just how inspiring it is. Now, if culture allows me to encounter others, and that encounter allows for exchanges, which are the basis for education, well, then, for me, the result is clear. Culture is education. And when you look at it that way, it's experiences such as those who are shown by the 7 finalists and 3 winners that allow us to change our understanding of culture as a series of gestures that represents our community. We need to do the same sort of exercise with education, creating new strategies so that we can all truly know and understand the story of our land and our home, and that we include different types of education, both formal and informal. We can do this by creating partnerships. That's what we've really seen in the nominations and the projects for this award. We saw cultural projects, we saw social organizations, hospitals, traders, all different stakeholders in a community were involved, meeting and communicating. And citizens need to be right there in the thick of things. Citizens need to be at the heart of all of these partnerships. If you want to get different results in education, you need to apply different solutions. And this is the only way we can do this, is to go beyond our own walls, to reach out, to go out into the community and learn how to learn differently. If we have the opportunity, we can meet and sometimes even surprise ourselves. We can take a child and show them traditional folklore. Or you could show them a video, for instance, but you can take that same child and you can get them involved in a community center project and have them singing traditional songs and actually have them participating and dancing. Then that will be an experience that they will recall much more than just watching a video. And that experience then will be much more than that. The child will have learned, they'll remember, and they will be able to articulate those memories and present them. And we will have created an encounter. Now, in the past 20 years, basically my educational project has been that of creating encounters. I've been all about that. And you see, when I present the finalists in the next few moments, you will see that they all form part, or they're all based on this idea that, and we all have a place to everything from sexual orientation to others can have a role to play in our culture. And this is what it's all about, to learn from different cultural areas in museums, but also outside of museums. There will be more traditional formats used, but others have completely broken with these traditions and gone out into the streets to where people actually live. And we see how we learn to go beyond borders, outside the walls, and become true agents of change for our communities. Today's cultural institutions are not passive. They reach out to citizens and challenge them to take on their citizenship and to become the communities of tomorrow. This monograph also says that it's been recognized that cultural institutions are important stakeholders in cultural understanding, in intercultural dialogue, in cultural transmission and understanding across generations. You heard it. Transmission is the word. It is recognized that cultural institutions are important stakeholders for understanding and transmitting culture in all its diversity and in transmitting it across generations. I very much like Jordi Balta's explanation. He's an expert in culture, who reminds us that when it comes to culture, this UCLG association sees culture as a common good that helps each and every one of us develop our capacity to create our own world. It is an ongoing process that allows us to understand, interpret, and transform reality by placing the accent on the idea that cultural rights being part of human rights. In this same monograph, Jordi also tells us that it is important to understand and explore all of the different scenarios in which educational and cultural ecosystems meet informal and formal education, cultural organizations, public spaces, virtual encounters. With all of this, we understand culture as being a common good that helps each individual create their own future. Now, in that context, the experiences that have been presented by the finalists and winners today help us change our understanding of culture as a series of gestures that transform our communities and help us learn. We need to engage in the same exercise for education. We need to create new strategies so that we can tell more stories and to ensure that non-formal and informal education is integrated into our concept of formal education. How can we do this? By creating reciprocal partnerships between schools, cultural organizations, the cities, associations, the private sector, and others. It is an innovative approach, to be sure. And it seems to me now that I'm actually repeating myself, my apologies, but I think this brings us to a
In just a few weeks, here in this region, 7 women were killed by their partners. And there's a lot of pressure due to the pandemic. This confinement is having a tremendous impact on domestic violence. We need to help our communities to get through this crisis. And that's where our networks become important. We need to transmit priorities and values, and this is where clear public sector policies can have a transforming effect. You know what? There are people around the world, like you, like me, who survive on a daily basis thanks to education. And there are others who survive on a daily basis due to culture. And we need to twin education and culture. These are 2 aspects. They're both lifesavers, and they can be allies for better lives. And this will enable communities to change racism into policies that can bring happiness. Over the last year, I've had the tremendous privilege to meet people who've really taken on board that culture can change the world when it is accompanied through education and when culture becomes an open door. And these meetings, all of these meetings with these individuals literally changed my lives. Please allow me to mention some of them. Unfortunately, I can't mention them all. We'll still be here tomorrow morning. Emiliano Eduardo Garzón from Bogotá, and there's Lucinda Jimenez in Mexico City, Sonia Augusta, the Escola Livre in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. These are individuals who are influencing me every day still. And then there's Fenia Nazare, Fatima, Jose, Maria, Philippe. Thank you. Thank you to them all. The coordinators of the House of Culture in Barrio 31 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. All of these have had an impact on my experience. And they can have an impact on everybody's experience. And today, there have been new people who can have an influence on the experience and the lives of all of us. I'm talking about the 7 finalists and the 3 prize winners for our 2020 award. Mark, can you run the PowerPoint, please? The initiatives that we are celebrating today underscore the transformative power of education and culture, because together they can create inclusive, creative ideas and policies. And please allow me to introduce each of these projects to you. These are experiences that have brought education and culture together and thus responded to the demands of society. Let us start with Anadia in Portugal. Last year, they presented 14 short films made by older people and by people with with physical diversity. And the films were on subjects chosen by those individuals: aging, active years, promoting physical and mental health, diversity, local transformation, experiences, life experiences, and many more. And especially in that project, you have pride and belonging. They had 2 daily sessions and an Oscar-style evening session. And this project has made it possible for the older people of Anadia to be made to understand that they still had a role to play, that the things that they can tell can learn others, can teach others. So these are elder people who've learned a great deal in their lives and then have taught those things to us. So I take my hat off to Anadia. The next one. So proud to be able to see these images. Let us continue with another splendid project that was commended by the jury, Cañada de Gómez in Argentina. They have a short film entitled 72 Hours. So these are both of the experiences about films. We can sit back and enjoy them on our sofas. And there was a festival of short films organized by the local authorities. Schools in this region happened to join the coordination team run by professional audiovisual people, professional filmmakers. And this is tremendously important. This was a matter of creating a meeting space for young people so that they could express their view on the world around them and their impressions and opinions on it. It's a matter of developing networks with young people who they might not otherwise know. And accompanying these young people is essential. They need teachers to do this. It's a matter of helping young people to learn and thus share their world experience and teach others. So I take my hat off to Cañada de Gómez as well. These photographs, aren't they wonderful? Wait a sec. You can see the pride in working together. Let's continue with Chihuahua in Mexico. This was a project here for social transformation, a matter of getting close to the community through art, through creative creation of mural paintings so that young people could boost their confidence, boost their social integration, and strengthen their feelings of belonging, and also increase citizens' security. This is something that encourages creativity and identity, and formation of identity and belonging and pride. Furthermore, this is a space where public sectors can be reflected. It's the people taking over the streets, the walls, and the parks. It's a major project that was implemented by the municipal government of Chihuahua. Dear friends,
hey,
here is the mural. Turning now to Famalicão, Portugal. Leprica is a project aimed at integrating people who have physical diversity. Physical diversity. This is done through the arts, through circus, and this is intended to assist social integration, combat anxiety, and to enable them to push their limits, to go beyond their limits through circus. The world of circus, they are seeking the personal and social development of each individual involved, who thus extends their networks. Around 60 individuals with physical diversity were distributed into groups during 3 months. They had a weekly session of 2 hours involving physical movement, juggling, acrobatics, etc. These are people who may make you feel awkward when you meet them, when you go past them on the pavement. And this evening, they're going to be the stars of this show. And they're the stars of increased awareness of diversity and the importance of integrating all of these differences into the wealth of culture that identifies us. So hats off also to Vila Nova de Famalicão. And look at this wonderful picture. An image can change the world. Here's the proof. We're going to Uruguay now. This is a project called The Key of Coexistence, the key of a convivial approach, Montevideo, for young people, enabling them to be more integrated and to become involved in the cultural expression of their city. Carnival. This is not a matter of isolation. The young people were actually asked what they wanted to do, what they would feel identified with, and subsequent to that, to their involvement in these participations, these young people who were deprived of their liberty assisted in the creation of this project. And this is a matter of helping prepare the future for these imprisoned young people who certainly need help. So hats off also to Montevideo, Uruguay. And let us go down now to the last 2 finalists. Santarém, Portugal, had a project called Inclusion on Workshops for All. This is a project for social rehabilitation, aiming on social inclusion and on combating this stigmatization of persons suffering from mental illness through various cultural and educational sub-projects. This program was developed and expressed through artistic workshops, creation experiences, personal growth initiatives. And this inclusion program promotes social integration, and the young people take part in the social activities of the city. So this is a matter of enhancing mental health and putting good mental health at the center of the city's policies. Why not? It's absolutely necessary. It's another case of long-term transformation and awareness raising for society. So again, hats off to Santarém, Portugal. The last of our finalists is Seosyongbo in South Korea. This is a project for handicapped people. There was an education law in 2005, which for the first time ensured that there would be access to education in South Korea by adult and young handicapped people. And Seosyongbo organized an event, an experience aimed at certain specific target populations so as to meet the needs that emerged from consultations. And the local government set up an initiative for lifelong learning, including opportunities of personal development. More than that, the Susyongu initiative understood that education has to be a global thing. It included a program for the support and respite of the carers, taking care of the carers. This on the basis of consensus reached with all of the stakeholders in this project, in this society. So this is for handicapped people, for disabled people, sorry, but also for those who assist them, for their families and carers. And there's a whole series of aspects of chapters to this project to cover all those who are involved around a disabled person, the objective being to act and to get long-term results. Dear friends, hats off also to Susyongu. Now we will talk about the award winners. But firstly, a huge bravo, congratulations to the 7 finalists. I hope one day to be able to come and shake your hands in person and to become impregnated with the values of your wonderful projects. Congratulations to all 7 finalists. And now let's talk about the 3 award winners of our award for good inclusion practices and the democratization of culture. After a presentation on each of these 3 cases, you will see a video setting out the key points of their projects, and I will come back after each one to present the next one to you. And just as with the finalists, the 7 finalists, we're going to take them in alphabetical order. That'll do. Let's begin. The jury was most impressed by this project for cultural facilities reaching 400,000 people each year. The idea being to create sense collectively and to strengthen scope for changing the environment through a multiplicity of artistic creation activities. Dear friends, our first award winner 2020 is from Colombia, the city of Medellin. Their unbelievable, their incredible project that we will be seeing now by watching their video. Here you have their video on their project on the Catul network. And that will be followed by a speech by Mr. Narvaez, Culture Councillor for the city of Medellin.
Sí. En el arte y la cultura hay algo muy bonito, y es que entre todos nos formamos, entre todos nos inspiramos.
Las personas no siempre son lo que uno ve, sino lo que llevan por dentro, y eso artísticamente se ve reflejado.
Cuando yo estoy muy contenta y estoy pintando, en mi estado de ánimo reflejo esa alegría.
El territorio, la sonrisa de sus habitantes, el abrazo entre las comunas. Eso es la Red Catul, un vínculo entre todos los espacios de Medellín que acoge la diversidad cultural de la ciudad.
En la Red Catul suceden cosas muy bonitas, cosas maravillosas, principalmente porque nuestro trabajo es con la gente, con la comunidad.
La programación o la oferta o digamos los talleres, las acciones, los eventos normalmente parten es de las propuestas que tienen los colectivos o los artistas. La casa de alguna forma o los equipamientos culturales se vuelven un puente entre los artistas y la vida cultural del territorio y la comunidad.
Con la red estamos reconstruyendo nuestra memoria mientras soñamos la nueva realidad de Medellín en 21 lugares mágicos, disfrutando de encuentros en los que palpita la cultura.
Son unos espacios en donde artísticamente las personas que los concurren pueden no solamente aprender técnicas o de pronto aprender ciertos conocimientos artísticos que querían adquirir, sino que también pueden apropiarse de este espacio.
A la Red Catul llegué para exponer en la Casa de la Cultura de los Colores. A raíz de eso seguí como conectada y se fueron dando más y más talleres. Mi visión de la enseñanza se ha ido transformando profundamente como con esas experiencias de los talleres de la Red Catul.
Confianza, cooperación y corresponsabilidad. Creaciones colectivas con las que transformamos nuestro entorno, gestando ciudadanías culturales aún en la adversidad, acompañando el corazón de 400.000 personas y cuidando lazos irrompibles entre los seres humanos, la participación y la libre expresión.
Eso se vuelve como el espacio donde nos volvemos amigos, donde nos apoyamos, donde llegan personas con depresión, con problemas de drogadicción, con problemas de muchas cosas. Y ahí es que he comprobado que el arte y la cultura transforman la vida de las personas.
Gracias a la pandemia la gente entendió que el arte es importante.
Igual siempre buscamos estrategias para seguir conectándonos tanto con nuestros aliados como con las personas de la comunidad.
Yo aquí conseguí buenas amigas, unas personas que me estiman. Es como un momentico de encontrarnos y abrazarnos y dejar allá los problemas en la casa.
Que sigan creciendo los lazos, fortaleciendo el tejido y sumando las manos que hacen de la Red Catul una realidad para los imaginarios colectivos, permitiendo que Medellín sea una ciudad que vive la cultura.
Que bailen. Y no se quede quieto.
El arte posibilita la recordación de esos momentos difíciles que ha tenido la ciudad, ¿cierto? Es una herramienta que posibilita el cambio.
Esto debería ser canasta familiar de la vida de todo ser humano.
Hola, un saludo desde Medellín, un gran abrazo.
Greetings from Medellin. It is a great honor for us to be able to speak to you here today. And we're honored to have our city participating in this activity. The sound is extremely poor, but the interpreters will try to interpret it.
Estas casas de cultura en Medellín transformaron.
We really see how the houses of culture were able to transform the life of the city of Medellin. Not just the life of the individuals, but the entire city. We went through some very difficult times as a city. In the late 80s,
administraciones ha hecho que hoy Medellín a través del arte y la cultura.
And there's been much done by the successive administrations to make Medellin the city that it is today. It is one of the most peaceful cities in the country.
De arte y cultura. Estamos con estas casas de cultura, teatros, laboratorios.
These houses of culture, theaters, and other cultural centers.
En la ruralidad, en los espacios del campo, de la ciudad.
We work with the people. We have different spaces available. Also, outside of the city, we have rural spaces, rural centers where we get people involved. We have over 2.8 million inhabitants in total, and some 400,000 people who visit these houses of culture and the general network of centers that we offer. It's a true social, emotional, and cultural transformation that we've seen in the city as a result of this project. It's under the Education Secretariat for the City of Medellin. We have had workshops, theater plays, and many other cultural projects presented. The sound is cutting out, but the interpreters will try to continue. What we're trying to do is ensure that we have fair, equitable access to culture, and together build a city that lives on culture. Through art, Medellin has learned to be resilient. Medellin, through these experiences, has become a city of culture. It has transformed our people. It has made us a peaceful city. And above all, a city that is starting to build a social fabric. There's creativity of theater, music, art, visual arts, plastic arts, dance. It's magical what happens in these houses of culture. There's a theater, which is one of the heritage theaters from the early 18th century, where people can go and visit and have unique experiences. There's also workshops held. It's the community itself that builds and participates and creates through workshops. We're also creating jobs in the culture sector. We're supporting artists. There are a number of different examples I could give you. The sound is extremely poor. It is cutting out, but the interpreters will attempt to continue. Through art, through culture, we have led to a transformation. So it's an honor for Medellin to share this winner with the city of Santos in Brazil and the city of Torres Vedras in Portugal. In these very difficult times under the pandemic, we continue to be able to share cultural experiences. It's reassuring for us to see that culture can continue to play this role. What would the world be like without literature, film, art, and culture, without events such as these in order to help support culture in the pandemic? So my thanks to all of you, to everyone, for your support. We're truly overjoyed to have been given this recognition. We are a peaceful city, a resilient city, and this is all thanks to culture. So thanks very much. We are truly celebrating this moment now.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Alvaro Narvaez, secrétaire à la culture de Medellín. Félicitations.
Thank you to the Secretary of Culture for the city of Medellin. Congratulations to Medellin. I wish you could hear us all clapping where we are and that you could hear the applause for the achievements of Medellin. Now, the next project drew the jury's attention because of the very important focus that they have on dealing with racism, bringing anti-racism into school and fighting against white privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, from Brazil, I present to you the city of Santos and its anti-racist project for inclusion and promotion of ethnic and cultural diversity in schools. We will be seeing a video and it will be followed by some words by the Secretary of Education of Santos, Cristina Rocha Barletta. We hope that she'll be able to join us and share some words with us after the video. But let's first watch the video to discover the next wonderful project. Education that drives inclusion of ethnic and cultural diversity in Santos, Brazil. The important thing is not the house where we live, but where, in us, the house lives. The city of Santos is located in the state of Sao Paulo and stands out economically for having the largest port in Latin America. Its history is directly linked to the history of Brazil. After centuries of enslavement of Africans and African Brazilians, many of these men and women came to inhabit the quilombos installed in our territory. Quilombos were living spaces designed to shelter the slaves who sought freedom. And in the city of Santos, they were integrated into the labor market and society, participating in the development of the city. However, race relations in Brazil were guided by the exclusion of our indigenous and African heritage. The history of the Brazilian people has always been told through the eyes of the Portuguese colonizers, without taking into account the other ethnic groups that form the Brazilian people. Considering education as a vehicle for the transformation of society, the Municipal Secretariat of Education of the City of Santos developed, from 2004, a project aimed at recognizing and appreciating African culture, Afro-descendants, and the native peoples in the school community. Since then, after 16 years, we've carried out actions that provide our educators and students with awareness regarding respect for the ethnic diversity present in society. We've promoted different actions in favor of the fight for diversity, combating racism. In this sense, we point out as important the training of trainers, technical staff, employees, and the community in general, in addition to meetings with parents and students, approaching the role of the school in the fight against racism, such as new themes, facts, and historical subjects, the reorganization of the school curriculum, with the inclusion of a history centered on the educating peoples, indigenous, Portuguese, and African, the production and dissemination of teaching material, the elaboration of historical, geographical, archaeological, literary, and racial ethnic itineraries, theoretically guided by the concepts of territory and educating city, in which both tangible and intangible heritage is valued, and the construction of new knowledge, participation in local and national meetings in addition to publishing articles, alliances with local agents, the Municipal Council for Racial Equality, municipal bodies, museum institutions, including the Coffee Museum and the Mill Rue Saint-Georges do Erasmus, universities, city council, and others. And finally, we have a space to promote discussion, which is the Forum for Monitoring the Law 11645/08. In times of the pandemic, we continue our actions through remote and hybrid education. We believe in respect and in the fight against structural racism. Thank you.
Rebonjour tout le monde. Alors,
welcome back, everyone. Now, I understand that the Secretary of Education, Cristina Rocha Barreta, has been able to join us, or has not been able to join us, but we would like to send you all our greetings, our congratulations to the entire team in Santos. Ms. Rocha Barreta, the Secretary of Education for Santos.
Bom dia a todos, bom dia a todas.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening.
Título de cidade educadora, conferido pela Associação.
Santos would like to thank the International Association of Educating Cities for the award that it has been given, the Educating Cities Award. The sound is breaking up, but the interpreters will try and continue. We have been working with the development of formal, non-formal, and informal education for all our people.
No ano de 2019,
in 2019, we opened up the registrations for the Educating Cities Award, and the Secretary of Education of the City of Santos decided to present a project. It is one of our flagship public policies. All of the actions carried out to promote ethnic and racial diversity. The work is entitled Educational Program to Promote the Inclusion of Ethnic and Cultural Diversity in Schools. It's for the City of Santos in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And this project is carried out by Adriana Migreiro dos Campos and Sandra Regina Pereira Campos, two teachers. Through both public and private funding. It's done for the entire community. And a number of different activities have been carried out since 2004 in order to promote an anti-racist education in our schools.
Constituída por vários outros
It is made up of a number of different projects which are all connected, which worked to promote the public policy for ethnic diversity, tackling it from a number of different fronts: education, culture, and others, and also for the general community. The sound is breaking up, but the interpreters will continue. We've worked together with a number of different institutions in the city and have gotten the Black and African Brazilian community involved to deal with these anti-racism projects. We also have a number of museums, including the Museum of Coffee and the ruins of São João do Erasmus, which are part of the heritage of the city of Santos. We've also involved universities and other institutions. We've involved in training of trainers and of the community in general. We also have developed historic itineraries and routes through the city in order to improve knowledge of what the city has to offer. We have produced teaching materials. We've offered guidance for schools and teachers and also children's literature. We also have workshops for carnival, for masks and costumes. It's been presented at international congresses, among other things. The recognition of our work through the Education Cities Award for good practices in the inclusion and the democratization of culture is a sign to us that we are on the right path. On behalf of our city, I would like to express my thanks, and I would like to congratulate all of the winners and the finalists in the award and all of the participating cities, particularly the city of Medellín and Torres Vedras, which were also award winners together with the city of Santos. So thank you very much and congratulations to everyone.
Merci beaucoup, Madame.
Thank you very much. That was Cristina Rocha Barletta, the Secretary of Education of the City of Santos. Well, you know, when we're working live, it's amazing to see what we can achieve, and it was wonderful to see that you were able to join us in the end in this virtual event. My thanks to you and congratulations to you and your team. So congratulations to Santos. A round of applause for them. This brings us to the final presentation, and this will also be the final words from me. It has been a huge privilege for me to be able to speak to you today. Now, before I present our last winner, let me just take this moment to thank and greet my fellow members of the jury. It has been a great joy for me to share this work with them. It was not a very easy task, I can tell you. So the other jury members were Eulalia Bosch, Leila Regina Oliveira Chinelato, Martha Yobet, François Mesure, Maria Trugno, and yours truly, Michel Vallée. We were the jury. Thanks to all of you for having shared this experience with me. So having said that, I'd now like to present to you the final winning project. We think it is an excellent example of how we can bring our seniors at the heart of the teaching of our children. It really brings us back to this intergenerational approach that we talked about earlier. We're bringing seniors right into the heart of the experience. We're helping the generations get to know each other and to share and learn from each other. My friends, I present to you Torres Vedras of Portugal and its project, In the Heart of My Childhood. We will first be viewing the video showing us the project, and then we'll be hearing from the speaker on behalf of Torres Vedras, Carlos Manuel Antunes Bernales, who is the mayor of the town. The video first.
O projeto No Coração da Minha Infância insere-se numa política de promoção do diálogo intergeracional.
This project, Heart of My Childhood, is intended to safeguard and foster the memory of communities and to distinguish artistic creation. Using our heritage as the starting point, we started with unusual appropriations, readings, and reinterpretations, giving rise to artistic objects in the field of visual arts for appreciation by generations. This is a matter of the arts and of collective creation, opening up the way to co-building so that everybody can have a voice. Everybody has a place. This project was submitted to me by the His Stories Factory a number of years ago. I fell in love with it immediately and I embraced it. It's an intergenerational project aimed at deepening the links among relations, amongst generations through art, through the life stories of the older people of our city. The students in our schools were able to build projects around the lives of these older people when they were young. For me, the Heart of My Childhood project is a brilliant one. The task is to build bridges and to make us understand that we can all learn from each other, and it's possible to bring all of these people together so as to transform our society into a fairer and more cohesive one. I was delighted to work on this book project because it enabled me to remember my time when I was a young girl up to the age of 11 and remember how I used to live with my father's parents. I was also very pleased with the girls who interviewed me and who were able to work with them very successfully. When the teacher spoke to us about this project, I thought it'd be interesting to make a physical reflection of the stories that were being told us about times past. I tried to simplify this as much as possible, simplify some of the ideas given to me by my grandmother and to set them out in key words. I wanted it to be interactive so that I could show this person's life to younger people so they could get an idea of how people used to live 50 or 60 years ago.
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon. As Mayor of Torres Vedras, I am delighted to be with you now with the International Association of Educating Cities to share this experience. I'd like to send warm encouragement to all the cities that are part of this international network, and particularly warm greetings to my colleague, Mayoress Ada Colom of Barcelona, who's been coordinating all of this, and also congratulations to the Executive Committee of the Association for the work they've had to do in the various different regions of the world where they've had to intervene. And also, I'd like to send words of appreciation and thanks to the jury, who have played a very important role when it came to assessing the various candidates. The main point is that cities can come together. For those that win the award, such as Torres Vedras, this is something we can be proud about, but just taking part in the award is a matter of responsibility. Torres Vedras has, over recent decades, done a major task with regard to education. Education for all, from somebody joining kindergarten right through to our pensioners. It's a multi-generational thing, and this project, Heart of My Childhood, refers to the multi-generational aspect of this, insofar as the older members of a society are enabled to convey, to transmit knowledge to young people, and young people maybe irreverent, but they certainly sometimes get moist eyes when they listen to their experiences of their grandparents. And this project came into being around 2014. It originated in what we call the Fábrica de Historias. Dr. Jaime Mombrino was a writer from this city, and he left his legacy to the city hall. And so they transformed his house into what we call the Stories Factory. Literature is very important there. Just to give you an idea, there's more than 1,000 people involved, young people, artists, teachers, older people. More than 1,000 people are involved in this project. More than 1,000 citizens. It's a matter of building citizenship through this model. And this is what has enabled us to build a fairer model with more innovation and more solidarity, with a view to rising to the expectations of the younger generations when it comes to the world of knowledge. And it's through knowledge that we can encourage our young people and improve the level of culture. The idea being to enable all of society to grow. So the goals of the project were very clear, and its overarching ambition was to combat pollution in our cities. Anybody who's been able to take part in this project will know that our arms are open to share our experience, to share our good practice with any other cities when it comes to building a better city. And that is where the matter of being able to produce and to create with the justified hope that knowledge, that education will enable us to bring about a fairer city with more solidarity, means that we have to use a whole network of ideas through the world of creation. Thus we can leave testimony through literature and the arts. And that's where the project's particularly significant. So on behalf of the City Council of Torres Vedras, I'd like to once again say thank you. Torres Vedras is 40 kilometers north of Lisbon. We have 20 kilometers of coastline. We are the municipality with the most eco schools in all of Portugal. So justice and ecology and a model to ensure that Torres Vedras can be a sustainable model and built around education. Those are all some of our core ideas. It's a pleasure to share this experience with you. As mayor of the city, I'm very, very happy at this moment. And lastly, I'd like to thank everybody who has made a contribution over the years to make this project from the factory of stories, this project, Heart of My Childhood, make it a reality and enable it to make a contribution to the enhancing of education and culture and good practice, so that this can all become reality. And so that through the extension of knowledge from one generation to another, using artistic creation can become a reality, as I say. And on the 25th of April, we will be opening our new Center for Arts and Creativity in Torres Vedras, which is a center that is largely concentrating on the carnival, because Torres Vedras is one of the cities that most fosters and encourages the phenomenon of the carnival, where culture and creation is very important. So this would be a good juncture for you to come and visit Torres Vedras, and that would enable you to share the good practice of our network and learn more about it. On behalf of the City Council, special thanks from the technical staff, professional staff in our municipality,
que Torres Vedras tem vindo a desenvolver no sentido de que, efetivamente, seja território educador.
We certainly want Torres Vedras to be a predominantly educational city and increasingly active in the international network of educating cities.
E muito obrigado desde Torres Vedras por esta oportunidade enquanto Presidente da Câmara.
Thank you very much.
Muito feliz.
From Torres Vedras, I'm very, very happy today. Thank you all very much.
Pues muchísimas gracias. Gracias en primer lugar a Michel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Firstly, to Michel for his inspiring presentation and his thoughts on cultural creation and the ongoing links with the world of education. It was a fascinating idea he launched of going out to meet the community, not in a passive way through leisure, but in an active way on the basis of creative practices.
Muchísimas gracias también.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Thanks to Álvaro, who shared his thoughts with us from Medellín, Cristina from Santos, and Carlos Manuel from Torres Vedras.
Enriquecernos, ¿no? con sus experiencias,
So we've been able to learn from their experience, from their day-to-day experience. This will feed into our collective experience.
Y también, pues, como se ha puesto en valor todas esas finalistas, ¿no? Y esas hasta 50 ciudades que presentaron, pues, sus experiencias.
So those were the 3 award winners from more than 50 candidates. And we now have a short video summarizing the award.
Pausa café virtual. Así que
And then
adelante.
we'll have a short virtual coffee break. Let's launch this video now, please.
Música